Talk Breakfast right here on Talk 100.3. A very good morning to you. So we were talking about diamonds education, polish these diamonds, and what better institute right in the heart of UAE. That's University of Wollongong, Dubai. Our friends are very much here. And today, let's introduce the panel of guests.
Oh yes, तो हमारे साथ Dr Feras Hamza, Head of School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Health and Associate Professor in International Studies at UOWD. Also we have Dr Muna Amr, Associate Professor and Program Director of the Master of Education Studies at the School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Health at UOWD. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Good morning.
Ladies first. Muna, if you can please come a little closer. It's a pleasure to have you with us, of course. Muna, I'm not sure whether you've been following us on air right now today. Very intense topic of education and skill. Thinking that maybe so much of education is not required when your interest lies somewhere else, rather than go ahead with that, polish that, upgrade that, and get better and best. What is your take? Why education, especially the element from the elementary to the higher level, is important?
Well, that's a very, very important question. It depends. We always actually raise the question about what's the purpose of education. Why we, every day in the morning, we send hundreds of millions of children to schools.
Imagine,
to,
yes.
What for? To prepare them for the job market? Or to actually prepare or actually to prepare them to be active participants in their societies. So these two things, these two issues or purposes of education have been the subject for research over the past few decades.
So basically preparing them for life and preparing them for their professional life. And Dr. Feras, if you would like to answer that, what's your take? If given an opportunity and you go back, will you get yourself educated, or you will just follow the skill that you were passionate about, or you'll do exactly the same that you did?
I definitely go back. I think there's something about the university environment that, certainly for, what is the big challenge now? The big challenge, I think, for us is that universities have become another stage of schooling. Mm-hmm. So it's mass education. So everybody goes to university like everybody goes to school. The only problem with that is that you can't then filter out the talent. Like, it's not that there's a lack of talent in our youth today, but it's very difficult to tell who's talented for what. So when everybody goes to university, it just delays the whole process of figuring out who is talented for which sector. So that's the challenge now.
Sometimes the faculty wants to know, and sometimes the child or the kids or people who are taking education, even they want to know that what they're good at.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, the challenge now is trying to figure out what the new kind of, I had a caller this morning. I think her name was Shweta. Right. I was listening, but when you change into Hindi, I lost a bit. My Hindi is not, my Hindi is very basic. Yeah. But I gathered she was talking about, and she was interested in the whole phenomena of the new job market, the kinds of jobs that are not so obvious, because she was mentioning, the standard jobs of engineering, medicine, pilots, and so on. So I guess trying to figure out what the new job market's going to be. What are the skills? I think Dr. Muna and I always talk about this. The skills are always the same essential skills, but how do you have these
differentiation of which
exactly.
Enhance.
Well, how do you have stable skills in a changing environment?
Right.
That they're the skills are always relevant.
Education should be more about trying to teach skills that you're going to use everywhere in all kind of circumstances. So it's not like one skill I can use.
But Dr. Mona, people give examples of dropouts. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. I think that's more of an exceptional case. It's always the majority that we make an impression
this is a
on.
very, very small percentage of people. And again, maybe because education for a very, very long time focused on the traditional kind of subjects or topics, like, math, physics, language, etc., and not, in the important skills that actually young people can use, in doing any job, basically. We're talking about here, about the fine skills or the long life skills, like, critical thinking, creative thinking, social and emotional skills, how to be emotionally intelligent in managing yourself and managing, the world around you, the people around you. So that's how, what education should be focusing on, rather than just, specialized knowledge is important. We want engineers and and doctors and accountants and etc. But I think recently the World Economic Forum just kind of shared a report on what kind of jobs and skills employers are looking for now, and most of those skills are actually more about the fine skills, the lifelong skills.
Indeed.
Because as an employer, I don't want a good engineer, but I also want someone who can work collaboratively with others, who's who can actually find multiple solutions to complex problems.
It's a team player.
Exactly.
Yes, problem solver. Yeah.
Definitely.
They call them soft skills, but they're incredibly hard.
Yeah, they're very, very hard.
I always say.
Yeah.
Well said.
Definitely.
Dr. Feras, you are head of School of Humanities. Tell us about that.
Well, it's something becoming out of fashion, really. The UK cut funding for the humanities and arts, just to take as a global example of the trend of the decline of the humanities. The humanities used to be about essentially engaging with texts and history and the stories of human beings across time and across geography. So typically that would have been history, literature, music, religion, philosophy, all of the things that kind of expand your awareness of what it's like to have certain experiences in life and to kind of become cross-culturally much more educated. So that's essentially the humanities. From those skills of reading stories about others and engaging them, you acquire skills like empathy, skills like emotional intelligence. You can relate to others more, and so but this of course takes time. That this typically happened in a university over a period of 4 years. These were the subjects of the humanities. Now what we're trying to do actually currently is just emphasize the continuing importance of what we call these critical skills, or what I just said, were the soft skills that are so hard to acquire. Now we do them, of course, in a much more narrow way, because we try to offer, of course, subjects that have a professional opportunity. So whether it's education or media studies or even in the health sciences, but essentially what the humanities are about us, about the story of our emergence. So the humanities is a broad remit, but I think this is important to appreciate, that the kind of rise of the phenomena of the university, which was essentially founded as an idea, it was essentially for the humanities, centuries before our time, before people went to university to become physicians or technicians or engineers. They went to university actually to become humanists, to be able to have a bigger, wider sense of who we are,
as well,
who we are on this earth, where are we going as a human civilization,
existence.
Absolutely.
Talking about questioning that.
How we should live with others and so on, and what is the meaning?
So,
what
Dr.
meanings
Feras, where are we going?
We're going back.
We're being automated slowly.
I think so.
I think in a sense we might have to go back. I don't know how that will happen, because of course universities are increasingly, the other challenge, I must say, that with higher education across the world is that it's being monetized. I mean, it's a business, and so business, you want to run a business, well, of course you have to optimize, right, to increase your profit. And I'm not sure that works with human beings. So unfortunately, I'm slightly skeptical about where we are, but I think we do need to ask those questions of what university education is going to be for, because it may not be for everybody. some people are more given to going straight into technical institutes or vocational colleges, but the problem is there's no cultural capital associated with that anymore. Everybody wants a university degree, right? Because there's no cachet in having something else but the university.
But that's the criteria as well. They look at you like, just one of our lovely listeners came and said that on your wedding card, they actually mention in front of bride or grooms what is their education level. So
qualifications.
Qualification and things like that. So imagine.
Yeah.
I think historically, because education was linked to the Industrial Revolution, the first and the second one, and the types of jobs that were needed for the job market. So that's how if you look at the universities and the programs they're providing, you will see most of them are traditional, like engineering, medicine, business, etc.
And I think University of Wollongong, Dubai is playing both sides really well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Well, we try.
We
the
try,
thing is, we're in
exactly.
competition. It's a very competitive landscape because, of course, it's kind of horrid word to use in higher education to speak of it as a landscape of competition. But unfortunately, it is. And so there are many providers. But what I think what you try to show is that quality eventually stands the test of time, and so that that you do eventually stand out, because you may not make the profits that you see others making in the same, but if you stick to the idea of integrity and quality, I think it speaks for itself over time, because the generations of graduates from the university then are testament to that in their workplace, right? That you produce graduates that can hold their own in whatever environment. So we try our best.
So let's talk about the trends, the reforms, what you're expecting in educational institutions now.
Well,
higher education or schools.
Yeah, there are two phenomena. I think before I mean, Muna is a specialist here in terms of the world's reports and research, but I think it's just before we talk about that, it's important to understand that there are two challenges now. One of the challenges we've just spoken about, which is, can universities remain relevant, right, in the future that's coming, and the kind of jobs that we don't know about. But the other one is a very basic question: does everybody have access to education? Yeah. And that's
so
Muna's
basic.
areas of research.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because
so
I think we tend to discuss the future of education, thinking about the very futuristic future, right? With technology.
Is it scary, Dr. Muna?
It is, yeah. Of course, it's scary because it's unknown territory.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, as we're discussing, the future of education and what education is going to look like in the future. We're still actually struggling with the basics, in large part of the world. We're still, if you look at the UN reports and the World Bank reports and the status of education, you will see that we're still struggling with giving access to the basic education. Literacy rate, we still actually, the figures are horrifying when it comes to, the number of students who actually still cannot read and write, and they're probably in their kind of middle school right now. The gender gap, giving actually safe access to schools, children going to school without getting killed or harassed, etc. And these things, again, they're happening in a really large part of the world. So it's not like a small issue in a really large part of the world. So it's not like a small issue, a small struggle.
I read that there was 85% of the world is literate, but that still leaves a billion.
No, it's 85. I doubt that.
Yeah. Well, perhaps it's a kind of basic literacy, because there's also functional literacy.
Exactly.
Like, can you function with the literacy that you have? It's not just, okay, I can read and write. I mean, can I get anything done?
There was a discussion the other day with a colleague who was working on, with some kind of development projects, and she told me in the country where she's working, there was a very, very big debate on how many reading textbooks for first grade the country should publish, and how many students can share one textbook. And the discussion was like, every 10 kids in the classroom in the first grade can only share one textbook. So it's, the picture, there are two pictures here, You've got countries like the UAE where, they invest a lot in education and then the infrastructure for education. And I think the COVID-19 was actually a good testimony for how resilient the country is. And I think so. Because in some countries, some of the figures were very, very scaring, telling us that more than 50 or 60% of children around the world, they missed at least 50% of their education because of COVID. We're here, I think there was disruption to learning. But so it was at the minimum, I think, in comparison to other regions.
Sure. So, Dr. Muna, because certain places around the world lack basic education, so the educators are doing something about that, I'm sure, along with UN.
I think it takes more than just the educators. I think it's, again, we're living in a globalized world right now. And I think it's the responsibility of everyone. So it's not just teachers and educators that, they can solve the problem. I think it's also the community. And again, like big organizations that can actually help and support, whether, with funding or with expertise, etc. But it's something that we really need to work on. Otherwise, the inequality gap is going to, increase.
And survival as well in the coming times.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
That's an important one, I think, because the kinds of, the digital world that allows everything to happen. I mean, it's, you can do something for yourself and for your community. Now you do it through a digital. You don't go necessarily to a kiosk or a shop or an office to get everything's done online. So you imagine how a big chunk of the world may be denied that actually because of their lack of digital literacy, for example, as one of the major forms of literacy.
That's right. 0586861003 is WhatsApp number. If you would like to ask or pose any questions to our panel of guests today from University of Wollongong, Dubai, you can call us as well on 80081003.
There are so many different avenues in today's time, being a sports person or getting into digital social media. You really don't need a university degree to achieve something like that. And when you compare the kind of money that they make, so somehow the attention is also falling on that. So would it be right to focus there on that area?
You mean and just discourage the idea of having to go to a university? Well, you can say
or put that money in building that idea of yours, or using the money there.
Well, I think maybe 30, 40 years ago that would have naturally happened. People would have been able to figure out a path because there was more than one option. There was a kind of you could distinguish between paths. But now I think like you were saying earlier, I mean, who dares not have a university degree?
Right. So
we've
scared everyone.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless, of course,
I will just add to that. It depends on what the university or universities are teaching. Are we only teaching, again, engineering or, I don't know, digital media?
Or medical.
Or we're teaching more like skills and, that help people not just to work as an engineers, but, they can use those skills everywhere in any areas of their lives. So I think, there were predictions that universities are going to vanish with time because they're going to be redundant. They're not going to be offering. They also are like, But again, I think the counter argument here is that it depends. I mean, if you're teaching really like real life problems and, teaching students how to survive out there, then it's going to be different. The universities will actually remain relevant.
At least our aim is to, take them out of the well into the ocean rather than, just confining them. A quick break and we'll be right back with Dr. Muna and Dr. Feras from University of Wollongong, Dubai.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rohit Kumar. If you're looking to lose weight in fast, effective and safe way, you can trust my 16 years of experience in performing weight loss surgeries. I also treat breast-related disorder, varicose veins, hernia, gallbladder stones, hemorrhoids, anal fissure and fistulas. I believe in a simple philosophy that no matter at what point of time in life and career you are, you should always strive to learn more and achieve more. Call me on 055 196 5678.
Stay on top of the game with Sports Update, presented by eCar on Talk 100.3, a part of Fun Asia Group. This is Talk 100.3.
Will go to penalties, and he's done it!
Heard of a fan zone that rewards you every time you go there? Yes, at the ISD World Cup fan zone, everyone is a winner. Just pay 75 dirhams and get 75 dirham voucher, fully redeemable on a wide offering of international F&B options.
And into the heart!
Get ready for a fun-filled day out with great music by renowned DJs and bands and high-definition 4K mega screens to watch all the football action.
Simply sensational, and it might be enough to take them through.
Tickets can be purchased on isdfanzone.com. Unbeatable atmosphere for an unmissable event at the heart of Dubai Sports City.
Dennis Cheryshev, oh my word! That is quite something!
Support sponsor, Elevate Trips. Event made big by Talk 100.3.
Waking you up to the UAE's conversation. Talk Breakfast with Vivek Sunil and Sobia Khan on Talk 100.3.
And always a pleasure to have our friends from University of Wollongong, Dubai. Today, Dr. Muna and, of course, Dr. Feras with us. And now preparing students for future, for those who know what they want to do, and for those who are still confused, who are still trying more options. How a university plays a part, Dr. Muna?
Well, I think one of the things that we do is, the way we teach students is actually we provide them with opportunities to explore like real world problems. And we give them like different kind of hands-on activities where all these help you to discover who you are and your talent and what you're good at. So if you're still confused, we teach lots of what we teach like is based on critical thinking. And once you kind of learn how to be critically a critical person, you'll start actually understanding yourself and learn about what the things that are important to you and the things that maybe you enjoy the most. And that motivates you. And I think motivation is very important here, which is something that we care about a lot in the way we teach and the way we assist the students as well. So we don't do exams, I think in many of our programs. Most of our assessments.
I love this.
Yeah.
No exams. I'm up for
not
it.
at all. This is what
Please enroll me.
This is the first question that my students ask me.
Sounds
all our
trauma.
assessments are project based. All of them.
Superb.
In my program, we have 0 exams.
Because there is no pass, no fail. There is no minimum requirement.
There are. I think so.
Don't get too excited.
There are, but it's again, it's you engage. You engage with your learning. I think it's active learning.
But then
It's
is
not
it a lot of
just-
pressure on the faculty or the professors as well?
Well, you have to do
have to be creative,
50
I think.
times more than you would have done 20 years ago because
Is
of
it?
that old delivery model of the lecturer just delivering a lecture. That's completely gone because the students are, partners in the learning process. So actually trying to create an environment in which every week something exciting is going to happen in class or something engaging and something relevant because the students will say, look, I'm paying good money for this. Well, how is this relevant to me? So it's much more of a tense performance. It's like being on the radio.
Indeed. But being on the radio is fun as well. Maybe just like education as well. But I think every era has its own challenges, Dr. Muna. Go 20 years back, there were challenges. And they will be 20 years later.
20 years, I don't know. Like now, it's definitely more challenging, and I think people now, because they're exposed to everything. They know a lot, In the past, a teacher in the classroom, he or she will be like the knowledgeable one, the one who just walks in.
A lot of counter arguments.
Yeah. Well, really, yes.
Because Google is also a teacher.
Exactly. The biggest teacher, I think. Graduates now, in their graduation speeches, they thank Google, not their professors. I think.
Well, that's why I think the World Economic Forum talked about one of the priorities here is learning from everywhere, not just anywhere. The everywhere aspect reflects what Dr. Muna is saying, that there's so many areas in which knowledge is available, that how do we put it all together? But by the way, we don't know the answers yet. We're still discovering how this next generation or this upcoming generation is dealing with all things digital. So their experience of they use things like catchwords like digital natives and digital
literacy.
But even that's got to be distinguished. I mean, there must be differences in the way that they interact. So we're trying to learn. If I sum it up in one, it's trying to discover what the new literacy is.
Nice.
You and I. Yeah. We all went to school, we read certain textbooks, and these are classics, right? Everybody knows their portion of the classics, even if they've forgotten them. But the idea that there was a classic, right, that's maybe changing. So the new forms of literacy are still emerging. We don't really know what they are.
But can you still figure out that this particular student is going to make waves around the world because there are 10, 15, 20 students. Only few have the power to shine. Can you figure it out?
Yeah, I think you can see the students' motivation, I think, and how the way they're engaging with their learning.
So it's the motivation that takes you up there.
Yes, and the engagement as well. If you're like very engaged, very interested, then you're gonna do more, I think.
Amazing. And to just sum up the entire theme, future of education, what do you think?
Future of education
is bright.
Hopefully, yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be challenging, I think, because it's gonna require a lot from us, a lot of it's a paradigm shift. We need to think differently, because I think most parents still think that students, their kids' performance in math and physics and language is more important than their performance in social and emotional learning or in all those soft skills that we discussed. So we need to actually make that shift. We need to start
mindset shift.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Dr. Feras?
Well, we'll have to come back on the show to discuss it.
But a quick one with your family and all. How do you take that? You're letting your kids grow with education, or you see their interest right now and you're prepared that this is where you're going to take them or encourage them to be. How does it go?
Well, certainly for me, I'm still learning about what my kids are doing in a sense. I can see that they follow a curriculum and they have, there is a kind of structure, but it's almost over-structured for me.
What's the age bracket?
So one is 13 almost and one is 18. So, they're at critical moments at school.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just seeing that their interests are not obvious from the curriculum. They're doing the curriculum because they have to, but it's not clear that excites them really. So it's this is what I mean about trying to discover what are the new forms of literacy that are emerging that we can attend to then. That once we know what the expectations for literacy are, maybe we can design a better curriculum.
And what is more important, I think, the curriculum or the child? Because I think we still put so much emphasis on the curriculum, but not in the children and their interests and how they want to learn and what they like and what are their interests. So I think that's the shift that we need to see happening in the future. Otherwise, the schools again will become redundant, because they're not teaching anything that children cannot learn it from Google, for example. So it has to be about them, not about what is being taught in the curriculum.
Oh, I love this statement. Amazing. This is the takeaway for me.
Yeah.
Teach them what they want to learn, not what you want to teach.
Yeah. And I think that's what is going to be one of the major trends in the in the education in the future.
If not one to
how
one,
we
at
learn.
least closer.
Yeah. So and giving back the learners the autonomy of the learners back to them. I think so they can choose what to learn, how they want to learn, how they want to engage with each other, with what how they want to engage with each other, with what they learn as well. So hopefully,
Big question mark,
exactly.
But yes, UOWDubai.ac.ae, that's the website where people can get in touch
That's right.
with Dr.
That's right.
Feras and Dr. Muna.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I have to be honest, we couldn't get enough of you. And Dr. Feras already promised us another show very soon.
Well, I suggested. I didn't promise. It's up to you guys. It was a pleasure to be here, really. It was
And
a
I'm
lovely
sure our
conversation.
listeners as well, because not just the students, even parents need that,
I think
just take a back seat, relax, and open our minds as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely.
thank you so much once again.
Thank
thank
you
you
for having
guys.
us.
Lovely to talk
Thank
to you.
you.
This is Talk 100.3.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Molly.
This is BBC Minute.
First, it's congratulations to Billie Eilish.
Yet she is on the BBC's list of the 100 most influential women of 2022. Billie's been chatting to us about growing in confidence since she became a huge star as a teenager.
Even down to what she wears.
Right now, I'm wearing a tighter shirt and I'm wearing a more low-cut shirt. And like the older me would have been like, ooh, please don't. But I like it. It makes me feel good now.
The man who shot Lady Gaga's dog walker and stole 2 of her French bulldogs has been jailed for 21 years. James Howard Jackson pleaded no contest to attempted murder. Detectives say the thieves didn't know who the animals belonged to.
Tory Lanez has been released from house arrest. It's as jury selection begins in his trial. The rapper denies shooting Megan Thee Stallion in 2020.
And all the Asian teams are now out of the World Cup. It's after Japan lost to Croatia on penalties and Brazil thrashed South Korea 4-1.
Would you believe it? The ISD World Cup Fan Zone, the football fans' paradise, and the heart of Dubai Sports City. Talk 100.3. Waking you up to the UAE's conversation.